Hello and a very warm welcome to this Career Inspiration event hosted by BCS and YBA. My name's John, and as well as being your host today, I'm also the head of community at BCS. So I'm very definitely not a business analyst. In my role, I do get to work with lots of brilliant people across digital professions, and today is absolutely no exception. But before I introduce Daniel, our keynote speaker today, who very much is a BA despite the title questioning whether he may be or not, just a few words on housekeeping. We've got lots of people on the call today, so please do just ensure that you keep your mic muted and your video switched off, and that will just help with everybody's experience on this call. Whilst we'll have the opportunity to listen to our speakers this afternoon, we're also going to be taking some question and answers. So please do, as you think of the question, type it into chat, and I'll be keeping an eye on the questions being asked. And at the end of this hour, we will be sharing them with our speakers to provide their perspectives on the questions that you have asked us. To get used to using chat, might be worth just saying hello, perhaps introducing yourself, letting others know where you're joining from today. And without further ado, please all give a warm virtual welcome to Daniel Grist and Accidental Business Analysis.
Thanks, John. Let me just make sure I've got everything sorted here, sharing my screens. Give me 1 second there. Okay, and we should be good. John, Alexandra, can we see that? All good?
All good.
Great. Well, John, you have reminded me. I thought I would put something in about where I'm from, but it slipped my mind. So yes, my name's Daniel Grist. I live down in the sometimes sunny South Coast in Bournemouth. And I've got a confession to make, to be honest, or a couple of confessions. I love the dance floor at a wedding. I'm an absolute sucker for karaoke. And a few years ago, I had no idea what a business analyst was. So this talk, we're going to be kind of running through what is a business analyst, how did I find out that I was a business analyst, and also maybe identify some things for yourselves around the business analyst role, and is it a good fit for yourself? So we're going to look at how did I become a business analyst, my first project, how you yourselves could formalize the role of a business analyst if you find yourself in a similar situation, some of the things that I wish I'd known sooner, why I think the business analyst role is such a good role to pursue, and then we'll move into going forward some resources to help you in your journey becoming a business analyst. So first off, beginnings. How did I become a business analyst? Well, imagine a world where the only solution to a computer problem was this. Apology, it's covered a little bit, but hello, IT, have you tried turning it off and on again? One of my favorite shows, The IT Crowd. And to be honest, that's where my journey began. I was working in IT support around the level 1, level 2, hearing customers call me up on the phone, their struggles, and honestly, not really feeling equipped how to fix them. I was learning a lot, making progress, but I was feeling frustrated. I knew there had to be a better way to make an impact and escape this, what I was feeling like a Groundhog Day of IT support. Now, really valuably, at that time, I was also being mentored by someone that I knew, and they're helping me figure out my potential career path. I knew at that time, IT support wasn't going to be the thing for me. One of the things I thought of was maybe project manager. To be honest, it was one of the things that I knew about in tech. But when I read through the role, I knew that wasn't quite the thing for me. Now, after some time, I needed to change roles to a new company. And it just so happened that the company that I joined were looking to start to go through an ERP migration. Now, for anyone that's not aware, and it is a fairly niche area, ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Planning, system used in lots of businesses, from manufacturing, finance, lots of different areas, but can deal with inventory, finance, HR, management, customer relations, all in a centralized system from that perspective. And where I came in, we were looking at a system last implemented in the late 90s to this kind of modern ERP solution. I'm talking about, the old system was one of those black screens where you had to, with green text, you had to tab through the fields, all that kind of stuff. And I just fell into being one of the key people to do with the business change, to do with the processes, how we used to do things, and identifying changes in the processes required. And to be honest, it was this project that made me even aware of the business analyst role and what it could entail. When I was discussing with my mentor the type of work I was enjoying and getting up to, he said, Dan, have you ever heard of the business analyst role? And I've heard so many stories of other BAs recently that have heard similar things said to themselves as well. Now, that was my first project, and I'll talk a little bit about what that was. In a way, I was just kind of thrown in at the deep end, not knowing how to swim, but I kind of worked my way through this ERP migration, this large project actually impacting the whole organization. There were so many changes required, but honestly, one of the main reasons that I secured this role was, one, that I had time. I was new to the business, I wasn't too busy, and two, my line manager at the time saw that I enjoyed going out. I enjoyed speaking to people around the business, talking to them about what they struggled with, what they enjoyed, and how technology could assist them in their jobs. Now, to be honest, I actually faced lots of challenges. I needed to understand risks, timelines, best practices, process modeling, loads of different things. But with perseverance, hard work, and the occasional pep talk, I started to overcome some of those obstacles one by one. Next, I want to talk about how I took that opportunity, that single project, and actually started to turn it into the BA role. It was at this point that I knew there was something better. I'd survived this whirlwind of an ERP project, honestly, a journey not for the faint-hearted. And I experienced freedom. It was tough, but for anyone that's been involved in something like that can probably attest to, changing from one monolith system to another is a large undertaking. But the project went well. The business started to realize tangible benefits, and not a bad result at all, considering how it was originally looking. So how did I transition from that single project to formally becoming a business analyst? Let's rewind a little bit and think about this. So after emerging from this chaos of an ERP system migration, relatively unscathed, I realized something. I enjoyed that. And it's something that I wanted to do more of, this dance between technology and business. But first, I needed to hit the books. I needed to understand what actually was the business analyst role. I needed to be sure that, actually, is this the right role for me? Was I any good at it? So what I did then, I've done a bit of research. I scheduled some time with my line manager, who was really supportive, to ask what I wanted to discuss for my long-term career at the company, what would keep me interested, what I enjoyed. And as part of that time, I said that, look, I actually really enjoyed that challenge. It was tough, but I enjoyed that. The opportunity to meet lots of colleagues, find the real problem, and use technology to solve them. I said, look, let me do more of that. I looked at sample job descriptions online to see if that's something that fit me at all, really. So thinking a little bit about that, what is a business analyst? So one of the definitions that I've got here is that business analysts assess how organizations are performing, help them improve processes, systems, conduct research and analysis in order to come up with solutions to business problems and help them introduce these solutions to businesses and their clients. It's kind of an advisory role, but we've got a lot of responsibility for investigating, analyzing situations, and ultimately improving business systems requirements and identify implementation plans for that. I've got a couple of scenarios that Alexandra put together for me. So one scenario of actually where a business analyst would be valuable is to say, I want an API that lets my users make credit card payments. In this scenario, the business has gone through, okay, we need to build this, right? The team have built the API, but actually, for whatever reason, the compliance department says, oh, that doesn't meet our specifications. What that means is we've wasted money, we've wasted time, the opportunity, we could have been doing other things. Ultimately, we need to do it again. And also, it's going to hurt morale, to build something that's not eventually used. And so where the business analyst comes in and says, all right, I know we need to build that API, but let's take a look at actually, what do you need to do? What are the limits that we've got? What are the criteria, the regulatory points that we have to build? And instead, the team build the API in a certain different way. And actually, once it's built, we've achieved something. We've got that. We've not wasted time. We've not wasted value, etc. Because of identifying the actual problem first. So thinking about that, formalizing the BA role, we talked a little bit about doing some research, thinking about sample job descriptions, what a business analyst does, and the value that they can bring. Next, we'll look a little bit at some of the skills. So some of the key skills that maybe you resonate with, maybe you don't, are going to be critical analytical thinking, negotiation, facilitation. It's going to be lots of running meetings, running requirements, workshops, that kind of stuff. Stakeholder management. You'll speak to lots of people from senior executives down to the most junior people in a business. We'll look at requirements, definition and management, process modeling, which could be a more technical skill, communication, organization, and people skills. So depending on where you are in your current kind of career, your professional life, you may already have a lot of these skills already, whether that's stakeholder management, negotiation, communication, organization. Actually, they can kind of come from lots of different areas. And I knew that was the same for myself, that I understood several of those areas, but equally I didn't understand something like process modeling. And that was where I needed to do some research to understand that. So what would I be doing? With a bit of research, self-assessment, I embraced that business analyst role and, a survivor of IT support, a conqueror of ERP chaos. I ventured into this world of business analysis. What would I be doing? I needed to understand the problem, work with stakeholders, have a really open mind, asking lots and lots of questions, identify the business requirements, and help us make the right decisions. What do I think I'd known sooner? Looking back at this career journey, I would say there's one vital lesson that stands out to me that my line manager said several years ago to me, which was, do what you say or say why not. And I find that so important, not just for the BA role, but for many areas of our professional life. I always say, being accountable comes with the same thing. Actually, in the professional world, the main currency is trust, and how we can build relationships with different stakeholders, different people within the organization is so important. We need to embrace honesty, say when we can't meet a commitment, because actually that demonstrates professionalism. It says, look, I can understand my workload and I can say, this thing or this thing, we can't do both. We need to be able to say no. I always say that actually saying no is like saying a thank you card after declining an invitation. It's saying, oh, that sounds really good, but I just can't do it. And here's the reasons why. We need to build trust, foster open communication and growth. And what's the same for a lot of jobs in the digital economy is continual learning. You know, we can look back over the last year of AI, ChatGPT, all these different technologies, and we need to stay on top of things, continually learning. So what would I sum it up? It's that statement at the top there. Do what you say, or say why not. That cornerstone of trust and growth in the business analyst role. Now, another slice of wisdom that I've got for kind of people aspiring to be business analysts is you need to understand about your stakeholders and engaging them well. You know, coming up with exploring who they are, map them out, communication strategy, and adapt. Now, what I would say and how I think of it is that you have to remember that everyone that you work with has their own unique role and level of understanding. We need to be patient, be a good listener. And actually, I always, you know, this is a fun way I think of it. We need to show them why engaging with us is actually, you know, like finding hidden treasure. You know, we are, you know, by engaging with us, by working together, it's an investment in their own success. For time is precious, ultimately. Many of our stakeholders, you know, could be executives, could be, you know, working in finance, whatever it is, they have their own jobs, right? They may be working on the project full time, but many of them will be doing other things, right? What's our secret weapon? You know, the reason why they should work with us, we need to show them the value of working together, show them the value of doing these projects. You know, this isn't just a meeting, this is that strategic alliance for positive change. And when you reframe it like that, and you say, actually, you know, this is something that's going to give you loads of success, people are so much more attentive to come on and work with you. So when you encounter those kind of, you've got, you know, the people that have been in the organization for 20, 30, 40 years, you may also have really fresh faces on the team. It's about adapting the approach to say, you know, how can I communicate best with you? How best can I, you know, spend your time, offering a listening ear, being patient, ultimately, you know, building bridges of understanding with people of all levels. I think it's so important that actually as a business analyst, we're going to be working with, yes, we're going to be working with some of the senior people and they need time and stuff like that. But also to make sure that we give time to some of the most junior people in the organization, because they'll have really valuable things to say, given that many times they're the people that is actually going to be, they're going to be most impacted by the change. Now, why do I think you should become a business analyst if you're not already? Or maybe you've kind of listened to this and thought, oh, I do loads of those things. Maybe I am a business analyst and I don't realize it yet, or whatever that is. There's 5 key things. One, I think it's a really high demand area. You've got loads of different industries to go into, of, you know, tech, you know, there's BAs and non-tech roles as well, if that's not how you go. But you get to be the people that get to see a change firsthand, get to experience it firsthand, and be fluid in loads of those different opportunities. I think there can be really lucrative salaries, especially in different industries and in different work of business analysts, and I'll come on to that in a moment. We're versatile. You know, if you really enjoy finance, if you really enjoy healthcare, whatever it is, there's probably a BA role out there for you in that specific industry. We can keep on, you know, developing our skills. As I said, you need to be so on it with keeping up to date on different areas. And I think one of my favorite parts of it is that influence and impact. Now, as the business analyst, you're not just a cog in the machine. You're actually the conductor of the orchestra, or at least you help write the music. You know, your insights help influence those strategic decisions that organizations are going to take. You're going to be steering the organization towards success, growth, and actually you're that change maker, delivering value, you know, real tangible value. So what that looked like for me, and you know, another story of my own work is In a previous role, I was working on this project to do with automation of some of the finance functions of the organization. And as I was working it through, it was, multinational across lots of different sites, lots of different people involved. Actually, some of the teams were very uncertain about what this would mean for them. What would this mean for their roles? And the project was estimated to save, nearly $500,000 a year for the organization. But it meant that people were really uncertain. People thought, oh, am I going to lose my job here? What does that look like? And actually that uncertainty or, pushback, whatever it is, could have caused the project to go wrong or be severely delayed. However, by taking some of our BA skills and being a valuable business analyst and coming in and saying, look, this is why we should work together, actually coming on side with them, discussing with people what it would mean, keeping that transparency, keeping that trust, we actually had an opportunity to turn that around and say, actually, this isn't going to be a threat for you. If we reframe it, this could be a good opportunity because I'm going to work with the executive team to see that actually people aren't made redundant or whatever it is. And actually, how can we do higher value work? How can we push people's careers forward so that they're not doing this manual stuff? So, we could really work together, go above and beyond, and actually deliver more value than we ever thought because of getting people on side. We were able to re-engineer processes and deliver even more success. Just talking briefly on that career pathway, I pulled this from the BCS's website. Just search for the business analyst career pathway there. And it can show you just some of that career progression that might be there for you. So starting at the 30,000 kind of mark and going all the way up to 60,000 or more. And I've heard of people on above that in certain industries as well. I want to just say I'm going to post some stuff on LinkedIn that's going to kind of build on some of what I've said as resources for people that are either looking for a junior business analyst role or apprentice business analyst role, as I'm going to post kind of links to various different resources that I've found over the last few days. But just kind of in conclusion, I want to recap what we've talked about. I had those days of troubleshooting those computer glitches with that timeless advice of turn it off and on again, to now becoming a business analyst. It's been a path of transformation and growth, challenges, triumphs, and lessons all along the way, really. Now, as you think about your own journey, whether you're an aspiring business analyst or actually thinking, listening to this, you thought, actually, maybe I'm not, or actually that doesn't sound like the thing I want to do. It's important that we remember that all of these experiences and challenges will help shape our future career. All those learnings, the building trust, the working with people will remember that. So in this ever-evolving landscape of business analysis, I think there's a few key principles that remain constant. Being accountable for your commitments, embracing honesty as your ally, respectfully saying no when necessary, and trust, that ultimate bedrock of any successful career, being built on reliability and transparency. But most importantly, I think, as a business analyst, and why I think it's such a great career, is you have the power to influence, to lead, to make that tangible difference to the organizations that you serve. You're not just a part of the orchestra, you're writing the music and conducting. So I'm going to pass on to John and Alexandra that are also going to share a few more resources about how we can go from where we are maybe to starting on that business analyst journey or progressing on our business analyst journey.
That's brilliant. Thank you. That's really insightful. Thank you for sharing your career journey. Lots of hints and tips in there, and I can see lots of people in chat who are engaging. Just whilst Alexandra just prepares her presentation to share with the wider group, I did want to stop on one question, and don't worry, it's not too detailed, but it was was talking about you obviously mentioned that you're a bit of a karaoke and dance floor loving BA professional. So the question was really, does the role suit introverts too, or would you describe yourself as an extrovert?
John, I can never get my head around introvert extrovert. I would always call myself an introvert, and then everyone else tells me I'm an extrovert. So I'm not too sure where I fit in on the spectrum of them. But I honestly believe that it can fit both people. And there's pros and cons actually to both sides of things as well, because there's two parts of it really. As a business analyst, yes, you do need to talk. You need to be able to have those conversations. You need to be comfortable in some instances presenting to different groups of people. However, you also need to be a really good listener. You need to be able to come alongside people. So there is definitely opportunities for introverts and extroverts, or I always think of it as a scale and people all the way in the middle.
That's a great reflection. Thank you, Daniel. And yeah, people are going to have different communication preferences, and being able to kind of adapt and tailor that to build a trust. Really, really strong advice. Thank you, Daniel. Right. So now we've got Alexandra. Alexandra, please do introduce yourself and share a little bit more about YBA.
Thank you, John. So my name is Alexandra Koifman, and I'm on the senior leadership team for Young Business Analysts, YBA. And another way to find out more about the BA role is to join and contribute to professional networks like YBA. So today I'm going to tell you a little bit more about our network, including our vision and our mission and what we offer to our members and volunteers. At YBA, our vision is to inspire, empower, and influence the next generation of young business analysts. And our mission is to create a free space where all young BAs, including aspiring BAs, are connected through knowledge sharing and are inspired to achieve their goals confidently, no matter where they are in the world or where they are in their career. So why should you consider joining YBA? Joining YBA means becoming a part of a supportive community of young business analysts. We offer a platform for networking and peer-to-peer support, which can be particularly beneficial for those starting their careers. If you join YBA, you'll be able to network and have opportunities to connect with peers and industry leaders to build valuable relationships and ask for advice and recommendations when you need them. We also offer value to our members through online and in-person events, which are both professional and social, which includes talks from experienced thought leaders throughout industry, plus some of our members when they want to, and the chance to enter competitions with fabulous prizes such as books, vouchers, and more. Behind the scenes, our group is run by volunteers, and being a volunteer, like Daniel, means you also have the opportunity to take on leadership roles and make an impact on the group. You can speak at industry events and conferences, you can review business analysis books before they're published, and build your leadership profile. Volunteers can also enhance skills. For example, in the areas of project management and stakeholder management while working on YBA's initiatives. So now I'll just talk through some of the recent events we've hosted over the past year that were organized by our volunteers. We've seen our events mature into a vital platform for discussion and learning, and attracting a diverse range of attendees and fostering a rich knowledge sharing community. We have been lucky enough to have speakers from the industry as well as our own YBA community deliver talks on a wide range of topics. Our talks have covered topics such as well-being, stakeholder management, business modeling, and the all-important question, when do you know if you've done enough analysis? These were all valuable learning and networking opportunities which our members have taken advantage of, and as a principal, are always free to attend to our members. Now, speaking of membership, we offer a completely free membership to our network, and The current joining criteria are that you're under 35 years of age, anywhere in the world, there are no geographical restrictions, and you have an interest in business analysis work, or you're responsible for business analysis work, or you're following a BA training program such as the IS Business Analysis Apprenticeship, the BCS BA Diploma, or any business analysis related higher education course. So, if you'd like to find out more, or you'd like to join our rapidly growing network of over 2,000 young BAs worldwide, the best place to get in touch is via our LinkedIn group. If you search for Young Business Analysts YBA on LinkedIn and request to join, you can also scan the QR code on your screen, which will take you to our request page. You can also follow us on Instagram, where we post regularly, and you can also get in touch with us via the LinkedIn group or our website, youngbusinessanalyst.org. Now, back to John.
Thank you very much. That was really great to hear about the work that you're doing as YBA, and as a sort of community specialist. Really appreciate what you do, bringing BAs together. I'm just going to present a little bit on BCS and also invite my colleague Pat to share a little bit on the BA support we provide for people in careers. So let me just take a moment just to sort the faffy bit of sharing screens out. I think I've got that right. Hopefully you can see a presentation and not my notes. I'll take that as a yes.
Yeah, we can see. Good, John. Thanks.
Fantastic. Okay, so BCS, well, I guess it's quite a grand statement to make, but we're about making IT good for society. And that's really come through our Royal Charter. So we're set up to really think about how we can support public in understanding the role of technology and help to educate. And so how we do that is actually right across the life cycle of someone's career. So a big part of what we do is trying to help and inspire the next generation of talent. And we do that directly and indirectly. So that might be through working with teachers. We've got a community of over 23,000 teachers who teach the computing curriculum throughout schools. And we also run programs such as Barefoot as well, which helps helps develop skills around coding. So we are really seeing ourselves as a career partner. Apprenticeships wise, we've probably what we're most famous for is delivering over 21,000 apprenticeship awards since 2017. And we have lots of different certifications that we offer for people who are working in the IT industry, including professional registrations, which recognise current competence. As a membership body, we also have our own community. So we've got just over, I think, 110 different types of member group, and that's a community made up of 700 volunteers who run events for our members to be able to continuously learn. And through that community, for all those brilliant people, we're able to kind of share expertise and knowledge to kind of address some of the big topics. So I can see in the chat there were some questions asked about AI, and BCS has been really involved in kind of taking some of the expertise of our members to kind of contribute to AI regulation, and it's an area that we'll continue to work on. So right from school age, our work with teachers to sort of becoming an expert in a field, we hope that we're there to kind of provide support throughout an individual's career. So I'm just going to pass over to my colleague Pat. Hopefully you can. Yeah, here we go. Hi, Pat.
Hello, everybody. So I said that what I would talk to you about is how we can help you to progress your career. So as BCS, the Chartered Institute for IT, what can we do to progress your career or support you with that? And some of that might be within formal certification. So we have the BCS International Diploma in Business Analysis, and that starts with a foundation certificate to give you that real breadth of understanding of what BA is and how that all works and sits together. But that's really quite broad, and there's not the depth that you're going to need to be successful. So then you move on into your practitioner level. where there are a number of certifications that you can then go on and gain that depth. So things like requirements engineering, we know that's a huge part of your role as a BA. How do you do that effectively? What are the techniques that you're going to need to really gather those requirements? Modeling business processes, similar type of idea. It's a big part of the role. So how do I do it? What are the tools that are available to me? How do I do that effectively? So those certifications give you some of that information, and then check your knowledge. They check your understanding so by completing those assessments, not only have you been to a course and learned about it, you're also saying, I learned it, I understood it, and I've got that certificate to prove it. So they are a formal way of doing it. It finishes with the diploma itself, which is an assessment that's done in this way, but like an interview type process, an oral assessment, where you're then able to talk through different scenarios and how you'd approach things, so you can really articulate what it is that you're trying to achieve and showcase your skills as a BA. So they are really great. They're going to help you progress in your career, as I say, because you're doing the learning, but also because it's validating and confirming that you've understood it. We also have publications, and I've wrote on there the business analysis book, which is the 4th edition, which is quite a popular text, but there are others in and around business analysis. There are also others in and around some different subject areas. So it might be that as a BA, because you're working with different areas of the business and different projects, it might be that you're working on a project in AI, for example. So you'd quite like to understand a little bit more about AI. Therefore, you buy yourself a text that talks about AI, so you're in a better position or a more informed position when you're dealing with that particular project. So we can support your career in terms of really understanding business analysis, but we can also support your career in really understanding some of the IT world that you're going to be working within. There are other qualifications. So as an apprenticeship, and John talked about it, that we're an endpoint assessment organisation. The apprenticeship is something that's based in England, and it's around your employer giving you time to study, giving you the opportunity to learn new things on the job, so that you get a rounded qualification that gives you the skills of BA as well as the knowledge. So it's teaching you on the job, so you're learning as you go. And then there are other things that we do that support. So there are CPD events that we do. So as you will all know, which is why you're on this call at the moment, keeping your skills up to date, really understanding what skills you need, how they're evolving, how you're going to handle different projects, different stakeholders, different ways of working. It's really important. So BCS has different events. Some of those are virtual events like this. Some of them are face-to-face events. Some of them are units of online learning to work through. And some of them are about supporting you with your knowledge of business analysis. Some of them are about supporting you with some of those people skills, maybe. So communication. I've seen some of the messages in the chat, and we talked about being introverted and extroverted. Sometimes it's about, how do I handle that person at that time? How do I give them the communication that they need? So there's bits of CPD within there that talk about communication methods, different styles, how you can approach different things. So as BCS, we are here to support you with your formal certifications and qualifications, but also with your wider understanding of the IT world. And how do I handle some of those different situations that you may find yourself placed in?
Fantastic. Thank you very much. So as speakers, you have been fantastic at your timekeeping. So we've got, as expected, about 20 minutes to run some Q&A. So thank you to all of our speakers. Thank you for the presentations you made. I'm going to start to field some of the questions that we've received in chat. If you've got more questions, continue to add them, so we've got plenty of time to address them. I'm going to go back to Daniel to start off with. We've talked a lot about BA being in demand, so it'd be good to understand a little bit the rationale around that. Why is BA such an in-demand profession at the moment? And then there is a secondary question in there. Lots of people are sort of thinking about the impact of AI and what that might mean on their jobs. And I know you've got some thoughts on that you might be able to share with us.
Yeah, two questions. The BA is in demand, and also some thoughts about AI and what that means for us. So why do I think business analysts are so in demand right now? I think there's a few different things really that are happening. Number one is the role has become more popular over the last few years. And I think one part of that is that actually there was a time when the business analyst role became a lot less popular. And organizations have seen that happen, seen that actually the projects that they ran during that time where they've not had business analysts have actually performed a lot worse than when we had business analysts involved. That's one area of it. Companies are undertaking, significant change initiatives. We are in this massively changing world, and and we'll talk about that in a moment where we talk about AI. That actually there's so many changes that we need to go through, and so we need to understand actually how do we make those changes, and that's where the BA role comes in. And the third reason is that we need more people. We need people coming on to these webinars, taking qualifications, becoming really good business analysts, because there just aren't enough. The role has been neglected over the last few years, and so I think we are seeing a resurgence, but to keep on that happening really is important. So that's some of my thoughts on why business analysts are so in demand right now. And then thinking about, I think someone posted the question, could AI take over part or all of the BA job? Now, I think it's a contentious subject, and I think there's a lot of different opinions out there, and to be honest, changing every day. But I think that AI, ChatGPT, whatever we want to call it, or whatever tools we're using, has aspects which can be really useful for a business analyst. Whether that's helping to understand complex business processes, whatever it is, I think there can be really useful things for taking meeting notes or whatever it is, right? However, I think there are some human elements of the business analyst role which AI can 100% not do yet, and I can't see a time that that's coming, to do with communication, to do with building trust, to do with transparency, because if I was having a very tough conversation saying, well, actually, I'm really worried about this change because I'm worried that it's going to mean that I'm going to lose my job. Actually, having that conversation with ChatGPT, is that going to give me the same impact as having it with someone that comes to my desk, brings me a cup of tea, and says, "All right, let's talk about this change and what it means for you." So I think there is benefits to AI there, but definitely, the aspects of trust, communication, honesty, and identifying impacts of a change are still going to be there for a long time.
Great, thank you, Daniel. Alexandra, I don't know if you wanted to kind of add to anything.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. I guess one more thing is that as more organizations are wanting to embrace AI and machine learning, the BAs will be the ones who help manage that changes, figure out what's best for the organization, how to implement that as well, supporting other roles, of course, but BAs would be contributing to those conversations as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. And BAs, it's so important to any change in the organisation. Thank you both. Quite a challenging question. I think a lot of professions are trying to answer that same question at the moment. And you presented a really interesting insight on why BA is still in demand and will continue to be in demand. There was a bit of a conversation around career changes. So I know Pat responded in chat. So Pat, I don't know if you want to say anything. They're sort of asking is it 40? Is it too late to get into the role of BA?
I hope not, because that then says I'm past it as well. So I hope not. No, not at all. In any role that anybody takes, you kind of think, I have this conversation with my children quite often where they're talking about, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a vet. Yeah, because they are roles that you see all of the time, and they are things that people know about, and therefore, of course, you want to be one of those things until you discover that you don't actually like the sight of, you know, blood or whatever, and then you discover actually none of these careers are the ones for me. So you find yourself working in, I don't know, a customer service type role, for example, or you find yourself working in an information technology support desk, and people start to recognize your skill set at that point, and then they start to say, you're quite good at this, you're quite good at this, you have this skill, and you start to fall into roles naturally then that meet your skill set. Brilliant. That's great for someone going out of school or out of university and landing a role. Some of us leave school, and I'm going to talk about myself for a moment, as that's what I do best. I left school wanting to be an accountant, and I did that, and I discovered I was not a very good accountant because I can't keep quiet, as we're discovering during this call. I really enjoy talking, I really enjoy being with people, and accountancy was not the one for me. So I did a career change much later. So I actually thought to myself, I can't keep doing this. I'm not progressing. I'm not getting to where I need to be. I'm not enjoying it. I had children. And so I went and did the whole mum part. And then later on, I thought, actually, what is it I am good at? And it is talking. So what's the role then that suits me as someone who's good at talking? So it isn't about you can only do it at a young age, or you can only do it at an old age, or you can only do it at this part of your life. It's about what do I want right now, and therefore who is around to support me to get the skills that I need to progress. And some of that is with an organisation like BCS or a community group. Sometimes it's in friends, sometimes it's in mentors, sometimes it's in somebody in that company really likes you, and you recognise that they can support you and they can get you to where you need to be. So what I would say for any age, it doesn't really matter. Focus on you, focus on what you want to be, and go for it, because you will have the skills to succeed in whatever you set your mind to. And hopefully that helps.
So inspiring. Go for it. Whoever was asking if it's too late, go for it. I hope that's enough of a sort of encouragement to get you thinking on your next step. Excellent. Daniel, I'm going to come back to you for just a moment. We're getting into some bit more kind of, I guess, detailed questioning around BA. So next question I wanted to understand is, one of the questions asked is, more often than not, stakeholders describe requirements based on current processes rather than the processes which will be in the future. What can you do to sort of avoid that situation?
I see the same thing happening here, or equally I see the opposite thing happening, where people want to go straight to the future scenario, and we have to say, well, let's backtrack a second and look at the current scenario. Don't see many stakeholders that like to look at both, at least. So I'd say there's a couple of things to do in the scenario that you talked about, where we're looking at they're looking at the future process. They're looking at the current process. We need to think about the future process. There's a few parts that we can think about. One is we need to ask future kind of orientated questions. Let's keep our questioning around our vision. What are the benefits that it will give us, and talk about it in that kind of way. Another thing that I find really important, and I'm sure is covered, it's on YouTube, but it's covered in, I'm sure, some of the BCS qualifications and other things like that, to do with visual aids. So things like flowcharts or process modeling we could do, where we identify, this is what it was, this is what it is going to be, and that's how we can identify potential gaps or whatever it is in the process. Other things that I find really useful is a workshop session where it's possible. I think that it's really useful to get quite a few of our stakeholders together. That's when we can get the benefits of thinking about getting excited almost about it, right? Talking about, oh yeah, that actually sounds really useful when we start to think about those things. This isn't my own technique, and this is something I learned from someone else in the space, which was talking about the 1, 2, 4 all technique, which is when we're in that big scenario, workshop, whatever it is, to get people sharing, which may be more introverted or whatever it is, to think about, okay, let's take 30 seconds or a minute by yourself to think about it. You don't need to share to the group. And what you're then going to do is turn to the person next to you, and you're both going to share your ideas. 30 seconds, a minute of that, and then you're going to come up to in groups of 4 and discuss all your ideas in that group of 4. And it's then only at the end, after we've had a couple of rounds of that, that we go back and share to the whole group in our groups of 4. So it means that people that maybe are quieter, don't fancy sharing in a large group, don't need to, but we can still get those perspectives and get really excited about the future change.
Thank you, Daniel. Any other thoughts on that in chat? Please do add that, and maybe we'll pick up on a couple of points there. Alexandra, have you got any kind of tips?
I think just to go a bit more on what Daniel's saying, some of the reasons why people tend to be focused on the current process is maybe that it's all that they know, or maybe they're scared of change. If you're changing the way that we're working, the processes, they might get worried about that. So I think it's a matter of going through those current processes and trying to understand why they're doing what they're doing, because sometimes there are better ways of doing that. And if we bring them along on the journey, we explain to them, have you considered this? Or maybe there's a way to make things easier for yourself. Then you get their buy-in, and they've been more willing to look ahead, and maybe they'll start at that point, coming up with their own ideas or vocalizing thoughts they've had that they've not been willing to share before.
Great, thank you. This is always an interesting one with roles. Where does the role of BA sort of start and where does it end? So this was from an individual saying they're relatively new as a BA in a tech company, and it's quite a difficult line to tread in designing processes of technical systems. So where do you think the role ends and the solution architecture job starts? Any takers for that one?
I started to put together some of my thoughts on it, John, when I saw that question, because I thought, that is an interesting one to ponder. Firstly, not every organization has the benefit of having a solution architect. So, it is amazing when we get to work together in that point. I would say that they very much work together, but they do have different areas that they lean more on. I think the BA more looks at the what do we need to do, and the solution architect can help us determine how we implemented it. So, what do I need to do? Well, I need to build out a secure login system for X, Y, and Z. These are some of our, regulatory things that we need to do. Our solution architect can then work with us to say, all right, these are the things that we need to consider to build that out. That's kind of, I would say, yes, they work together very well, but they have those slightly different remits.
Thank you. Alexandra, anything else to kind of add on that one?
Yeah, I think if you're concerned within your own organization and you want to learn more, the best thing to do is actually to speak to a solution architect you might be working with, especially at the start of the project or at the point of entry where you join in, just to understand, what the different roles and responsibilities are, because it can vary based on the organization or even the project that you're working on.
Yeah, good tip. Okay, so we're coming to 5 minutes to close the session, and so we've actually got through the majority of questions. And what is brilliant about the chat today is lots of people are sort of getting into discussions on some of the topics. So that is amazing. Lots of people sharing similar experiences, and that's what events like this are all about. That's what both our organisations are about. So please do follow up with us afterwards. We shared some of the QR codes, but if you didn't get a chance, you can always Google BCS or YBA. That's usually my quickest approach to getting this stuff done. So I guess I'd just like to give some final thoughts from Daniel, Alexandra, and Pat, really. This session was about, I guess, trying to inspire people to think about a career as a BA. What would you suggest as someone's next step? What would you say to them now if they're thinking about it? Other than the obvious. Maybe it is obvious. Daniel.
Yeah, no, I'll go first. I think, and this is just what I did, is one, think about, is that the right thing? As you've read up on this and you've heard a little bit about what a business analyst is, identify, one of the things that we talk about is a gap analysis, right? We think about what can I do, what can't I do? And so think about, right, are the things that we discussed, in the role of the business analyst, are they things that I enjoy doing? Things that I want to keep on doing and I want to do more of? And if it's a tick to those three, then maybe the business analyst role is right for you. And in which case, think about the organization you're in. Think about, if you're not in an organization, wherever that is. But for myself, it was really important that I had an amazing line manager at the time that was actually happy for me to progress in that area. When I said, look, these are the things that I enjoy doing. I want to keep working here, but I want to be a business analyst. And I had such a great line manager that said, yeah, we can keep on work. We can work for you to go into that. So I think an honest conversation around that side of things, but also thinking about, okay, those gaps, maybe I don't understand process modeling, maybe I don't understand X, Y, or Z. Think about how can we start working towards plugging those gaps and kind of becoming a rounded business analyst.
Very done. That's a good tip for somebody who's I'm always a bit awkward when it comes to career development chats, but honestly, being honest and having that kind of conversation has obviously worked out really positively for you. So that's a good share. Thank you, Daniel. Alexandra, any tips, next steps? What should people do next?
I definitely second the part about trying to find mentors within your own organization, trying to find, opportunities where you can try out business analysis. Maybe you can shadow someone if you're working for a tech company. And if you're not, then maybe you could reach out to local organizations, training providers, and just try to get a little bit of work experience. Maybe try to shadow someone, depending on where you are in your career. If you're early on, I recognize it might be a little easier, but just try to talk to people who are in the role, get a better sense of it. There's all sorts of resources out there which are really great, but sometimes it helps just talk to someone and build a relationship with someone who actually is a BA, and then you'll have a better understanding of whether it's something that is for you. And of course, I know it's pretty obvious, but YBA might be able to help.
Well, you might have ended on that one. That's great. So get networking, find yourself a mentor, someone able to help you, coach you. Thank you. Pat, over to you.
I think I would just say exactly the same as what Daniel and Alexandra have said. You're in control of your own career. Don't be afraid to have those conversations. Don't be afraid to ask the questions and get people on your side who will support you throughout your career. It's really difficult once you leave uni to then think, okay, how do I get a job? Where am I going to go? How do I do it? You don't always get the role as what you want. Sometimes you've got to start somewhere else. But if you, I was going to say make friends. I don't necessarily think I mean make friends. But if you get allies within the business, if you get people who support you, if you show your skill set and you're able to have some of those conversations, you'll progress into the role that you're after. You really will. It just takes time.
Thank you, Pat. Good advice there. And I find, most people are willing to help, right? There's this innate thing as humans, right? People just want to help other people. So if you can kind of socialize, talk about this stuff, it really does work. Great, some fantastic advice from all of our speakers today. Just one final thank you to Pat. Really appreciated you sharing some of your knowledge on BCS and how we support as a career partner. Alexandra, lovely to hear about YBA and also you sharing some of your expertise as a BA. And Daniel, brilliant story, really, really great. Hopefully it's inspired a few people to take the next step today. The second most asked question was, is this being recorded? Yes, it is being recorded. And so we'll be sharing this after the session. Any questions that we haven't been able to answer, we'll try and have a bit of a crack at and send out as part of the kind of thank you for attending.